All right, who's the most desperate team to nail this draft? Okay.
In my opinion, it's the New England Patriots. And I think about the swing and a miss that they had with Gerard Mayo. Clearly, there was a blueprint for Robert Kraft and what he was trying to start with the new administration. And he did it with a player-led, Patriot player-led approach with Gerard Mayo. Didn't work out. Obviously, you bring Vrabes into the fold, and I listened to him do his team meeting the other day, and it was simple. No hoods, put the phones in the bag. We've all been in these meetings, but it's clear to me that they're no bullshit, and I saw that through their offseason acquisitions. It was a wave of players coming into the building, not just players, tough football guys that you and I both respect, appreciate the way that they play the game. I expect them to – I don't want to say take chances, but they've definitely got their guys in this draft that they have their eyes on that fit the blueprint of what they're trying to get accomplished. Now, it's tough to find, what they're looking for and get the toughness. They need a receiver for Drake May. They need somebody who's a dynamic playmaker, and they need an offensive tackle. There are plenty of guys in this draft who can fit the offensive tackle bill, but where they sit in the draft, in my opinion, is going to be tough to get that dynamic playmaker. So they're going to have to get it. They're going to have to hit the nail on the head in the first round with their pick, whether it be tackle or receiver. Because if they swing and miss, it's not going to be perfect. Drake May will get stunted again because of lack of talent around him, and the Patriot faithful will be pissed off yet again this fall.
Yeah. Do you think this for the Patriots ends up being, how like when Gruden took over, it was like the tone-setting draft, Gruden and Mayock. They had that Cleveland Ferrell, Jonathan Abram, Josh Jacobs first round.
Cleveland Ferrell.
We want to change the culture of a football team. Is this that sort of draft where they're drafting culture guys for Mike Vrabel, or do you think that's a ridiculous idea?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Going to get best players.
It's tough to get not only the culture guy, but also the team need. You have the luxury of going and getting culture guys when you've already got the talent in the building that needs more massaging and grooming and needs the bumpers at the bowling alley. Those bumpers are the structure guys. They are the this culture fit that we're talking about. So the perfect ones are the guys who fit both of those, and they are hard to find. They're really hard to find.
All right, my team is the New York Giants. We talked about a bunch off the top, but it's just true. When you hold the picks that they do, pick 3, 34, 65, 99. That's 4 picks in the top 100. A lot of value picks. And I already love what they did in free agency. Can't believe I'm saying that, but one of my favorite free agent classes of any team so far. They have some obvious needs. I think defensive tackle, if they're leaving 3, 34, and 65 without one of those, I'd be floored, just because adding anyone next to Dexter Lawrence could take that defense to the stratosphere. And if you add like Abdul Carter and a DT to this mix, you're right up there with the Eagles, in my opinion, for one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. So I think the Giants have a real good shot of knocking this one out the park, but they have to knock it out the park, in my opinion, because again, if they don't, Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, not going to be there anymore. Looks like we lost Kyle Long. Had to hop off there a little bit. Hopefully he comes back for this next one. Here he is. But it's a little peekaboo.
I was just press join chat because I was just going to involve myself in the chat, and I shut my mouth somehow. Thank God I got a quick trigger finger. I'm back in here. So you were talking about the Giants free agency moves. Go on.
I just basically said that 3, 34, 65. They got so much draft capital, and that this is necessary. It's necessary to keep their jobs, and also necessary because there's so much premium picks here that, like, you screw it up, you're setting yourself back a ton, because when you have these premium picks, you give them long leashes. And so I don't think they could screw up 3, truthfully, but 34, 65, we shall see. I'm most likely to make a head scratcher of any of the teams in this year's draft.
Okay, so you've heard me say this before. Myles Garrett is from another planet. It's hard enough to play against that unit when you've got Myles out there. He is a game wrecker, a game plan alterer. let's throw another guy out there who gives nightmares to people, Abdul Carter. Well, Abdul Carter has dealt with some health concerns going into this draft season. The combine, private workout stuff. He's had the foot, the shoulder, correct? He played with the shoulder this last season. The foot came up this offseason. I could see the Browns getting a little cute and going away from the Abdul Carter pick, which I think is a slam dunk, a home run. You want to get your team better, just dominate the line of scrimmage, fold the edges of the pocket. I could see them getting cute, not taking Abdul Carter and going with Travis Hunter, which would rob football fans of not only Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter, but it would also rob football fans of having Travis Hunter be on a good football team.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. True. I love Kevin Stefanski. I've loved the offensive line there. Obviously, I glaze Myles Garrett any opportunity I have, but it will be a real head scratcher if the Browns don't go with Abdul Carter and they penalize the 31 other fan bases by putting Travis Hunter in their city.
Yeah, I think if you're a football fan, obviously you could be a Browns fan, Giants fan, but just like if you're a fan of football and you don't desperately want to see Abdul Carter, Myles Garrett together, and then Jameis Winston throwing to Malik Neighbors and Travis Hunter, I need your rationale, because that to me is the single most exciting outcome of this draft. That is entertaining football. So if it goes Travis Hunter, if we have Kenny Pickett throwing to Travis Hunter, that is not exciting. No one is tuning in to watch that. If we have Abdul Carter being a rotational rusher on a Giants defensive line behind Kayvon Thibodeau as a rookie, that is not exciting football.
No.
They are still the fourth best team in that division.
He'll probably get very good with Bernsey and KT, and he's going to learn a ton of stuff, but we're not going to learn anything.
Exactly. So I think we all can agree on that. My team most likely to make a head scratcher is the team that's just been having me scratch my head. I'm about to have a bald spot with if I was a Saints fan, they're just no rhyme or reason they have. I think I put it this way to someone the other day. Drew Brees retired 2021. They have treated every offseason since then like they are Super Bowl contenders. They have not made the playoffs once since Drew Brees retired. Not once. So I think it's time to start looking ahead, and especially with this Derek Carr injury news. I'm not drafting a rookie quarterback. Sure, false to 9. I'm not drafting a rookie quarterback, putting him behind that mediocre pass protecting offensive line, and thinking that he is going to play like Jane Daniels or play like
you can't just right the ship
Drake May
with that. It's more than that.
Exactly. So I think they make a head scratcher. I hope they don't. I hope they don't trade up any of their picks. They need as many picks as possible. I hope they trade down 5 times. This is a team in desperate need of a reset. It's one of the thinnest rosters in the NFL because they, quite frankly, just haven't had a lot of picks. So all that being said, they are the most likely to make a head scratcher.
It's like in poker. It's like in poker when you got a buddy who just wants to bet every single hand. It's like, why don't you just watch a couple hands? That's the Saints. Why don't you just sip on your drink for a second, eat some baby cake or whatever they're eating down there.
I've called Mickey Loomis. He's the guy who just goes bust at the blackjack table, and then he's at the ATM within 10 seconds.
He's on the phone with his finance guy, and simultaneously his wife is texting him, why are we losing money? And he's just mashing buttons on the ATM, paying the fees, everything. And he doesn't tip any dealers. Doesn't tip the dealers, just saves all his money to bet.
Oh, God. He's
drinks for free at the table. Yeah. Okay. What are we talking now? We're talking
most likely to reach. Who's most likely to reach?
Well, I'm going to catch some flack for this, but I think that the Las Vegas Raiders will draft Ashton Jeanty.
Okay.
And 90% of America would say, well, yeah, he's, did you watch him play in college? He's so good. Did you see what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles? I want people to know and understand that there are a lot of really good good running backs in the National Football League. There are a handful of great running backs, and there's probably maybe 2 exceptionally elite running backs in the National Football League. One of those two guys runs behind arguably the best offensive line of football. So if you're planning on drafting Ashton Jeanty with the plans to make your offense look like, let's just say, Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit or Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia, or, we could even make the stretch and say Derrick Henry in Baltimore. You're not going to be bringing those guys with you when you close your eyes and have a dream about what this running back looks like in your offense. It's like when we signed Ben Johnson in Chicago, when the Chicago Bears signed Ben Johnson. Can we bring Penei Sewell? Can we bring Frank Ragnow? Can we bring Amon-Ra St. Brown? Screw it. Throw Tim Patrick in there as well. I think that it makes sense for Ashton Jeanty to go to the Raiders. But I think in my heart of hearts that there could be people available that would impact their team overall more than Ashton Jeanty at 6.
Yeah. So just going back through like kind of the last, say, 20 years of running backs drafted top 10. You got in 2005, Ronnie Brown, Cedric Benson, Cadillac Williams. 2006, Reggie Bush. 2007, Adrian Peterson. 2008, Darren McFadden. You have 2010, CJ Spiller. Then you have 2012, Trent Richardson. Then you have Todd Gurley in 2015, Zeke Elliott 2016, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey 2017, Saquon 2018, and then you have Bijan Robinson, the only one since then, 2013, number 8 overall. How many of those ended up being, you said good backs versus great backs. How many of those ended up being great backs? Saquon,
AP, Todd Gurley for a burst, AP for a long time.
Was he worth it? Christian McCaffrey.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you have to have, if you're going to get the whiskey, it better come with Coke. You know what I'm saying? You can't just buy a Coke and expect it to be a whiskey Coke. And that's what you're doing with getting a running back. You better have that line of hungry dogs waiting for this guy to show up. You better have a quarterback that can capitalize on what the defense does now that they respect the run and pack the box, load the box. Now you're looking at single safety reads, and you got a quarterback who can make those moves. I'm not sure, they're ready for all that. I love Geno Smith. I love Pete Carroll. Chip Kelly, that's my dog. He gave me a chance to play in college. I have no doubt that he's going to dominate with the 2 tight end system, and they're going to bring in Jeanty, and he's going to have a great year. But at the end of the day, you need a little bit more than that to really beat these teams that are just absolutely loaded at every position.
Yeah, and the conversation isn't just is Jeanty going to be good? I think we all could say he's going to be very good.
Yes.
I don't have a Trent Richardson worry about his vision or whatever. But it's how much impact does he make on your franchise versus how much impact does Armand Membu, who plugs a hole at right tackle, will be, if he hits, will be on your team for 10 to 12 years, as opposed to Ashton Jeanty, who will be on your team for 6 to 8. More likely than not, just that's the nature of the running back position, unfortunately.
And your team's not ready now.
Yes.
So you're looking at potentially the Saquon situation. The irony is you want him to be Saquon in Philly, but he may end up being Saquon in New York.
Yeah, right? That's why the top 10 pick on running back is kind of a fool's gold errand, because you think it changes you quickly, and it does change you quickly, but not to the point that you need to get to, as we saw with the New York Giants, unfortunately, and very tragically. My team that I think is most likely to reach for the name, New England Patriots, just because I think they draft an offensive lineman, and I don't think the value at 4 is there for an offensive lineman. I just don't have any of these guys, unfortunately, evaluated as top 5 sort of offensive tackles. There's not a Joe Alt in this class. There's not a Penei Sewell in this class. Now, Penei Sewell didn't technically go top 5, but you know what I'm saying. It just isn't that. Now, just after pumping Armand Membu's tires, but it's just, you're going to draft someone at number 4 overall, and you'll probably be solid in time, but there's not a guy who's going to plug it right away, right? There's not a guy who's going to give you that level of performance day one. that protects Drake May. And I think that's what you're really looking for. That's what you're really hoping for. And I just don't, unfortunately, see it in this draft. All right.
I mean, in this bunch of tackles, there could be a guy that shows up and is an ass kicker from day one. But there's nobody who's made it obvious to us.
Mm-hmm.